NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing. At a track where you feel it, hear it, and see it, unlike anywhere else.
Anybody that asks me when they're going to their first race, I'm sending them here.
This is the hottest ticket in NASCAR. Experience the thrills for yourself at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Roll Tide, Happy New Year, and welcome to this new season of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR here in 2024. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you from our Tuscaloosa studios as we take a look back at the Rose Bowl and this past football season for the Crimson Tide and look ahead to what's coming up in basketball season. We'll start to go through everything coming up on our first show of the new year today, thanks to our friends at RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us a smart board to go through everything in a really interactive way here on our headlines for today. First of all, coming up on the show, we'll take a look back at some of the best moments throughout what was a championship season for Alabama football with our best of boot camp highlights, and then we'll be hearing from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, along with quarterback Jalen Milroe with Coach's Checklist following the Rose Bowl game on Monday. Then we'll switch gears to basketball. Of course, it's the SEC openers coming up for men's and women's basketball for Alabama, and SEC Network analyst Richard Hendrix, former Crimson Tide great, will be along for the January edition of Hoops with Hendrix. Looking at our headlines, starting with Crimson Tide football team. Again, it was a thriller. Unfortunately, Alabama came just short in the Rose Bowl game against Michigan on New Year's Day in Pasadena. 27-20 was the final score, despite Alabama having the lead with a minute and a half to go in that game. Wolverines rallied to get the win in overtime to close out the Crimson Tide season. First time that Alabama's lost in this round of the college football playoff since the very first one back in 2014, a loss in the Sugar Bowl to Ohio State. And now it's going to be Michigan against Washington playing for the national championship coming up on Monday in Houston. Still a lot to be proud about for this football team after the Week 2 loss against Texas, 11 straight victories after that, culminating in the SEC championship win against Georgia. So certainly a lot to celebrate, and hopefully more awards coming for Coach Saban, the Munger Award finalist for Best Coach in the Nation. Love to see that for what he and his staff were able to do this season with Alabama football. The women's basketball team last Sunday on New Year's Eve picked up a dominant win, one of the best in program history in terms of scoring margin, 91-26, the final over Mississippi Valley State. It's going to be tough tonight. Alabama against Ole Miss to begin SEC play, 6 p.m. at Coleman Coliseum. We'll have the game covered for you on the radio as well as a courtside cam sponsored by NASCAR coming up as well here on all CTSN social media platforms, so you can join us for that. And then on Sunday, the women's team will be going on the road to Missouri to play at 5 o'clock. Look forward to that trip coming up to Missouri for women's basketball. Men's basketball last Saturday, they made the trip to Birmingham and picked up a strong win against Liberty, a really good team. 101-56 was the final score. Latrell Reitzel Jr. had his best game in an Alabama uniform as he led the way with 19 points, was 4 of 5 shooting from beyond the arc in the first half to help Alabama off to a dominant start against a top 50 net team in Liberty. Now this week, no midweek game for the Crimson Tide, but Alabama will be in action coming up on Saturday to start conference play at Vanderbilt against the Vanderbilt Commodores. 2:30 the start time. Our radio coverage will start at 1:30 across the SEC or across the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Alabama doing extremely well in the regular season. Coach Oates has talked about how the regular season championship is a huge priority for this group. Alabama's won 2 of the last 3 SEC regular season crowns, so we hope more good things on the way for Nate Oates and the men's basketball team. How about gymnastics? Haven't talked about them much in the last few weeks, but now we will start to talk about them each and every week here on Crimson Drive. Their season opener is coming up in the Mean Girls Super 16 out in Las Vegas on Saturday night. Alabama will be competing in Session 4 along with Auburn, Cal, and UCLA, so we look forward to seeing Alabama start the year on the road in Las Vegas at that event out in Las Vegas. But again, next Friday night it will be the return of the Crimson Tide home to Coleman Coliseum. Missouri will be the first opponent for Alabama at home this year at 6 p.m. More details available on rolltide.com. Well, in the broadcast booth all throughout the football season, we had a blast. A lot of great moments for this Crimson Tide football team winning the SEC championship. So many of you joined us for the live booth cam presented by Royal Furniture all throughout the year, and even the one on this past Monday against Michigan in the Rose Bowl. So we certainly appreciated you having you there enjoying Alabama football live with all of us. So we always like taking a look back at the booth cam highlights. Here are the best ones we saw in the 2023 season here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
3 wide, right side, snap to Milroe, steps back, steps up, loads up, looks long, has a man, touchdown, Alabama, Isaiah Bond.
tight end to the left side for Alabama on 1st and 10 from their own 47. Milroe tucks it, runs, a lot of room, 45, 40, foot race, 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Alabama. Jalen Milroe, 53 yards, and the Crimson Tide gets on the board first. 2 on the play clock as they snap it. Pass deflected, intercepted. Bama's got it at the 25, still on their feet. 10, 5, touchdown, Alabama. Chris Braswell with the pick on the deflection from Jamarian Latham. There's the snap. Milroe looking, steps up in the pocket, 10, bounces right 5, towards the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama. Ball got knocked loose late, but he'd already crossed the goal line. And you can wrap this one now in crimson and white. I'll say it because we're all thinking it. At 11:20 at night, let's get out of here. Alabama's a winner, 40-17. Over the Bulldogs. Is in motion left. Bama looking deep again. Got a man wide open. Bond catch at the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama. Milroe on the low snap. Looking, bouncing, firing towards the end zone. Burton catch. Is he in bounds? Yes. Touchdown, Alabama. Jermaine Burton. Play action. Milroe looking deep. He's got a man down there. Burton makes the catch. He's brought down at the 20. At 1, they just get it off in time. Fires, quick slant. Burton, 10, 5, end zone. Touchdown, Alabama. Jermaine Burton. Bama by 6 with the ball on 37. Milroe, play action. Tuck it away. He fires it, and it's caught. McClellan, 40. McClellan, did he get to the first down? He did. Wow, wow, wow.
The game is over.
Yes, it is, baby. Let's get out of here again. Alabama wins it. Final score, 26-20. The Crimson Tide gets the win in Aggieland.
Milroe stands in, loads up long, looking, got him, touchdown! Touchdown! Isaiah Bond, 46 yards. In tight. Shotgun snap, give to Sampson. He's not going to get there.
Not even close.
That was Jihad Campbell. Quarterback Milton stands in. The ball is knocked free. It's picked up by Alabama. And rumbling in for the touchdown is the Crimson Tide's Jihad Campbell. The Tide is back to their winning ways here in 2023. Final of 34-20. Quarterback stands in. Quarterback runs up. Quarterback wishes he hadn't done that. He is just drilled by Justin Eboigbe. He'll clap his hands. Get the snap. Rolls left. Throws it across the middle. McClellan was left alone. He makes the grab. He'll race down the left sideline. And he's all the way to the 25-yard line. Here's Milroe on the far hash mark. Steps up. He's got running room. He turns it upfield. He turns on the afterburners, and he scores. Here now Milroe fakes the throw, pulls to his right, and his 4th touchdown of the day. Daniels with a throw. It's tipped in the air, and it's going to be Alabama with the interception. Alabama with the interception. Great job by Terry and Arnold. Handoff, big hole up the middle. McClellan breaks a tackle. He's in for the touchdown. Alabama wins it by a final of 42-28. Bama down by 4. Here's Milroe, looks long, trying to find a man behind the defense. It's caught, and here goes Jermaine Burton all the way. Touchdown, Alabama. Fair catch being made, and it's loose. It's picked up by Alabama. It's down the near side, and they call the play dead. Stands in, lets everybody get downfield. Still standing. He throws into the end zone. He caught it. It's caught. It's caught by Isaiah Bond. Caught by Isaiah Bond in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama.
They're checking it here, but there's nothing to review.
No, there's nothing to review.
Secured the ball, got the foot down, and these fans are in disbelief, and I'm loving it.
1. Here's the last play being thrown here. Intercepted by Terry and Arnold. He'll bring it back down the near sideline. Touchdown, Alabama.
Please hurry up, kick this thing off. We're all ready to go. 48-yard try. Kick is up. Kick is good. The field goal is good. Bama's on the board, and nobody in the history of NCAA football has scored more points than Will Reichert, 533 now for his career. 1st and 20 for Alabama. Snap to Milroe. Jalen look, he's got Miller wide open. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown. Alabama takes the lead with 12:04 to go in the first half. 2nd down and 10 upcoming. 2 wide outs each side. Miller again to the right side of Milroe. Jalen looking, plenty of time, firing left side. It is juggled. It is caught. Touchdown. Jermaine Burton, and Alabama adds to its lead with 48 seconds to go in the half. Under 2.5 now remaining in the 3rd quarter. Bama up 17-10 here in Atlanta at the SEC Championship. Misdirection, balls on the deck, scrambling for it, a fight underneath the pile. Bama came out with it. Trisman Marshall recovers the fumble inside the Georgia 10, and Bama is knocking on the door. Snap to Milroe, looking, stepping up, flips it, caught, Bond, 20, Bond, 15, out of bounds, inside the 10, 1st down, Alabama, move the sticks again. Milroe, looking, jumps it off, catch is made, Bond, 5, Bond, goal line, Bond, in, touchdown, Alabama.
I'm sure they're going to review this. His knee may have come down.
2nd, and a coat of paint on the football. Tom Stipes calling it the pachyderm push. We'll see what it is. Milroe hands it off, fighting, getting to the goal line, getting in, I do believe, for a touchdown. Roy Dale Williams, touchdown Alabama. 3 minutes to go as Georgia gets to the line of scrimmage. 3rd and goal. They'll hand it off, and he spins, and he didn't get in. Arnold made the hit, spinning him around. It was Milton trying to get there, and now Georgia has to use a timeout with 2:52 to go. Milroe with a man in motion, gets the snap. He wants to run it himself. He does, left side, keeps his feet, 35, 40, foot race, midfield. He's going to stay in bounds and get knocked down, and that will keep the clock moving with 2:40 to go. 30-yard pickup from Jalen Milroe, waiting on the snap. He's got Williams to his right. They'll bring Bond in motion. They'll fake the toss. Milroe keeps it himself. He's got yardage inside the 35. He's got a Bama first down, brought to you by Bank First. Move the chains. Georgia with 1 timeout left.
I was so hoping you were about to say, and Georgia is leaving the building.
We'll have to snap it just one more time. The celebration has begun on the Bama sideline. The celebration has begun in the stands. And it ain't far from happening here in the booth either. Play clock under 10. Game clock at 38. Jalen getting the snap, taking the knee, and the white flag has been waved from the Georgia sideline. And what do you say, folks? Let's get out of here. Bama, a winner over the Georgia Bulldogs, claiming the SEC title for the 30th time in school history. Keep us out. I dare you.
So much fun in the booth with all the great Alabama victories this season, culminating in that SEC championship in Atlanta. And speaking of Atlanta, a weekend of good times, unforgettable entertainment, and 3 wide, high-speed thrills all race long are what NASCAR Spring Weekend in Atlanta is all about. And the best way to experience it is at the track. Don't miss the Better Health 400 weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway. 3 days of racing thrills, February 23rd to the 25th. Atlanta is the hottest ticket in NASCAR, so don't wait. Get yours now at AtlantaMotorspeedway.com. Crimson Tide football season, of course, came to a close on New Year's Day against the Michigan Wolverines in the Rose Bowl, a 27-20 victory for Michigan in overtime against Alabama. After the ball game was over, it was head coach Nick Saban plus quarterback Jalen Milroe meeting with the media. Here is coach's checklist from the Rose Bowl post-game press conference.
Obviously, we're very disappointed about the outcome of the game. I don't think we played great in the first half, but I was really, really proud of the way our players played in the second half. We just didn't finish the last 4 minutes of the game like we'd like to, and we're all very disappointed, and the players are disappointed as well. But one thing that I told them in the locker room after the game, this is one of the most amazing seasons in Alabama football history in terms of where this team came from, what they were able to accomplish, and what they were able to do, winning the SEC championship, and really, really proud of this group. And I just wish that I could have done more as a coach to, help them be successful and help them finish. And all we can do now is learn from the lessons that sometimes failings bring to us. I just think that I don't look at it necessarily from winning and losing. You won the championship, you didn't win the championship. As a coach, you're always trying to get your team to improve and be the best that they can be. And I think this team probably improved from the South Florida game and the Texas game early in the season as much as any team I've ever coached. And that takes a lot of hard work, a lot of people being very committed to doing things that they need to do to self-assess and improve their game. And all these players bought in on this team and did it in first-class fashion. So that's why I think, for me as a coach, maybe not for everybody else, it was one of the teams that I always remember most and be the most proud of.
100%. Coach means a lot to us. We play even harder knowing that the coach has the belief system in us. Just listening to him talk, when he talks about, how proud he is of this team. We have a lot of things we can be proud of from this season. Could have easily lingered and past mistakes. Could have easily went in the tank when things weren't good. But the biggest thing we did was continue to improve, continue to have singular focus in our approach when it came to preparation and when it came to attacking the task at hand. There's a lot of things to be proud of. But one thing I am proud of is how much Coach Saban, harped on his belief system on us.
NASCAR's most intense action-packed racing at a track that's built to thrill you all weekend long. It's the hottest ticket in NASCAR, and it's only at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
We will continue having football coverage coming up over the next few weeks, taking a look at some offseason storylines for Alabama. But really on this show the next few weeks and really next 2 months and hopefully deep into the third month to continue, we're going to have a lot of basketball conversation. And one of our regular guests talking about Crimson Tide basketball, both on the women's and men's side, is Richard Hendrix, a great former player here at the University of Alabama. He is once again an SEC Network analyst, not only for Alabama games, but some men's games as well. And he joins us once a month for Hoops with Hendrix to kind of break down where things stand at the moment for Alabama women's basketball and men's basketball. Here's Hoops with Hendrix, starting us off strong in January. Richard Hendrix, it's Happy New Year, and it's also the start of SEC play for Alabama and men's and women's basketball. Roll Tide, sir. How are you?
Doing great, and Happy New Year to you, Roger.
Well, we're really glad to dive in on what's coming up for Alabama women's and men's basketball. We'll start with the women's team. I know you've been in Tuscaloosa a lot to see Christy Curry and the Crimson Tide, including all throughout what turned out to be an undefeated month at home in December, picking up 6 non-conference wins. Alabama with only 2 losses so far throughout this season. Just what did you make of non-conference play for Christy Curry and the women's team?
Well, I think this team has done a tremendous job of finding their connection early on. This is a different team from what they've had in past. Not only can they score it, but this is a really good defensive team with a lot of versatility, and they've been able to show that early in the season. They've got a signature win against a top 25 program in Louisville, and they've been able to hold the home court and playing really good basketball. So the most wins they've ever had moving into conference play with Christy Curry. So it should be a lot of fun, but they got a big-time matchup awaiting.
Yeah, certainly do later tonight with Ole Miss. Speaking of the defense, what's made it so good so far this year? Is it good play in the post, getting a lot of steals? How has Alabama been able to lock down opponents?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with personnel, and this personnel of this roster is very athletic, and they're similar size, which allows them to switch a lot of things on the defensive end, and then everyone has a physicality and a tenacity to their game, and their defense is being able to turn the defense into offense. So it's all across the board. They have a lot of depth, and then you're seeing a lot more experienced play from the front line play. When you talk about Gianna Cunningham being able to step in and Meg Newman to come and support the McDonald's All-American Essence Cody. So they have the front line play, they have the versatility at the guard position, and they have the tenacity to go out and guard and play good basketball.
Yeah, you mentioned Essence Cody. When we've talked about her on the SEC Network broadcast we've had, it's all about making that transition from high school basketball to college basketball. What about the transition now she's going to go in the next few weeks, going from playing against non-conference opponents, some Power 5 mixed in there, but a lot of mid-majors. Now you're taking on frontline SEC teams, starting with Ole Miss on Thursday.
Well, it's definitely about to turn up, but she has had some challenges early on in the year with some really good players, in particular in the low post, with some earlier matchups. But what she will find out now is when you move to the SEC play, that a lot of the other teams will have similar size in the low post, but depth. So you're going to have to be challenged. She's going to have to continue to grow as a player. She's had a little bit of a learning curve, but she's done a really good job of holding it down in the paint for the Alabama women's team. But she will be challenged, and you'll be able to see her true talent start to show against much more talented players.
Certainly look forward to that with what's coming up for women's basketball. Again, home against Ole Miss tonight. You and I got to call the crazy finish last year between the Rebels and the Crimson Tide. We know Coach Yo and the defense that Ole Miss likes to play with. If you're going to start with a strong opponent, this is a pretty strong one for Alabama this evening.
This is a good test. This is a test against a team that's going to challenge you physically and from a mental standpoint. If you know Coach Yo at Ole Miss, her teams always defend. So they're going to get into you all the way up and down the court and going to be physical in the paint. So Alabama is going to have to step it up and embrace the challenge from the defensive end that Ole Miss is going to put on them. Now, offensively, I do think that Alabama has the advantage, and they're playing at home. So it's going to be important for them to put together a complete game and then try to get off to a fast start in SEC play.
Well, the Crimson Tide women's team starting SEC play with Ole Miss coming up later tonight at Coleman. Meanwhile, the men's basketball team will transition there to Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide men's team on the road against Vanderbilt coming up on Saturday. And Richard, we talked right before, maybe it was right after the Purdue game, but all the non-conference opponents that Alabama had to face were really good ones, especially in that 3-game stretch against Purdue, Creighton, and Arizona. Just what'd you make of non-conference play for the Crimson Tide to start the year on the men's side?
Well, head coach Nate Oates always challenges this team with a tough schedule, and they've done a really good job of playing against some formidable opponents. But unfortunately for Alabama, they have not been able to get the signature win against some of these top teams. They played against Arizona, they played against Purdue, and they've played against Creighton in a true road game on the road, falling up short. The good thing from that is they were not blown out in any of those games, and they were competitive until the end. So there's just some small things that you can see with the team that they have to shore up to try to be competitive. But nonetheless, you can see that the team is trying to improve. They had a nice showing in the last game, in the last non-conference game. But they're going to have to definitely try to put it all together on the road against Vanderbilt, a tough place to play, Memorial Gymnasium. Alabama has had recent success there and in the last few games, but historically not a place that has been kind for the Alabama Crimson Tide. But they're going to have to definitely bring their A game to get off on the right track.
And the one player that is really leading Alabama and scoring really consistently each and every game has been near the top of the SEC so far this year. That is Mark Sears. What have you liked about his game to start the year?
Well, the Muscle Shoals native, he's done a really, really good job. He's always been a prolific scorer. He transferred in from Ohio University, averaging 20 points per game when he joined Alabama coming over from the portal. So scoring is what he does. He's a strong guard who likes to get downhill, and in head coach Nate Oates' system, he can get up volume threes. So his physicality and his range is what's a problem that he poses for defenses, and he's going to have to continue that. Alabama's just going to have to make sure that they play a good job defensively in the low post if you play against a team that has a solid post player, and try to create quality shots from three. When Alabama's hitting well from the outside, then they're a tough team to beat. When they struggle shooting from the three, it can be a hard night for them. So they're going to have to make sure they continue to work on their game defensively, stopping one-on-one penetration, guarding your own man, and then make the extra pass to find the wide open player to hit those wide open threes that they can get.
Of course, you're a post player here at the Capstone. We hear about it all the time. We especially did during that 3-game stretch against Purdue, Creighton, and Arizona. Defend without fouling. Obviously, that's tough when you see the caliber of players that Alabama had to go up against, but we know that's coming up as well in SEC play. Just for the common fan who maybe says that a lot, you got to defend without fouling in the post. How difficult is that for some of Alabama's players like Muhammad Wagi and Nick Pringle to stay out of foul trouble in games like we're going to see coming up?
Well, very challenging, particularly when they played against some of the best big men in the country. When you talk about Zach Edey and Ballo from Arizona and Kalkbrenner from Creighton, who all had dominant performances against the Tide in the interior, it's a matter of that you have to have more will inside. You're going to have to make sure you do your work early, have to be very physical, not allow people to get deep touches in the post. But at the same time, it has to be a team perspective of how you guard really good interior players. Now, for Alabama's advantage, I don't see too many players in the SEC that have the same offensive ability that they've seen in the non-conference. There might be a few that you can throw it in and the teams play through in the interior. But in the SEC, it should be a little bit different ball game. But at the same time, they're going to have to improve on the interior defense, because if they want to make the NCAA tournament, make a deep tournament run, you never know when a matchup is going to run into a team that has that type of personnel, and you have to be able to answer the bell.
Certainly look forward to seeing the Crimson Tide do that, as it will be Alabama starting again. SEC played coming up on Saturday on the road against Vanderbilt, home then next to Tuesday night against South Carolina, a team that's off to a really good start this year. Maybe South Carolina, Ole Miss, Richard, some of the biggest surprises around SEC men's basketball and non-conference play?
I definitely think so. Both of those teams at the bottom of the standings last year in the SEC season, but Ole Miss bringing in Chris Beard, who's coming over from Texas. He's been to a national championship game at Texas Tech, so he's a proven head coach, undefeated in the non-conference. But I will say this, they have not played one single quad one opponent. They will get their challenge in the opener at Rocky Top when they go to play the Tennessee Volunteers, who's preseason picked to win the SEC. So you talk about they will be challenged. People will be able to see if the top 25 Ole Miss Rebels are legitimate. I think they do play well. They have some really good players. Matthew Morrell is coming back. He entered his name in the NBA draft last year. He's coming back for another year and playing really good basketball. And they have the Auburn transfer coming over transferring over from Auburn, but really good players who's playing good basketball right now. And they're going to be a tough matchup.
And Kentucky looks pretty consistent. They got some great wins in non-conference play. Could this be the team for John Calipari that returns them to the top of the SEC?
Well, Kentucky always has talent, but they have young talent, really good players. I think it's going to be all about availability. When you talk about Aaron Bradshaw, who's 7'1", he's a newcomer, but he has the tools to really give an interior presence and a defensive shot blocking presence. He's been a little bit hobbled early on in the year, but starting to return to form. But at the same time, talent all the way across the board. Reed Shepherd, one of the best guards, freshman guards, McDonald's All-American coming in, really good player, and he has the bloodlines. So Kentucky will definitely be a team. But really, in the SEC, it's wide open. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's wide open. This is a season where I do not see any particular team that has dominated consistently in the non-conference. So when you look at the top teams in the league, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, and even you talk about some dark horses with Ole Miss, everyone can make a run. It's just going to be a matter of your schedule and getting off the hot starts and setting the tone.
Speaking of schedules, what do you have coming up on the TV side? We look forward to seeing you again in town for women's basketball down the road here in Tuscaloosa. But how about Richard Hendrix on the SEC Network?
Well, bouncing all around the league, not just on the men's side, but on the women's as well. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that Ole Miss Rebel team taking on Florida on January 10th to see how they'll bounce back after they have that tough game against Tennessee in the opener. And then I'll be moving forward on the women's side with Kentucky versus Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, a team last year that has been struggling in recent past with Shea Roth, really has their team playing good basketball right now. They have a really good record and surprising a lot of people. So it's going to be interesting to see how things are on the women's side as well.
We look forward to that. Well, Richard Hendrix, thank you for your time with us each and every month here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Safe travels with everything you have coming up. Look forward to catching up with you again. Roll Tide. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Special thanks to Richard Hendrix for his time. We'll have him join us again coming up all throughout the basketball season for Hoops with Hendrix. Time to take a look at what's coming up here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network even later tonight. And we always take a look at our weekend schedule and upcoming schedule thanks to our friends at Wickles Pickles. They are wickedly delicious. We always have them on set with us here at the Crimson Tide Sports Network. You should always have Wickles Pickles for your next basketball tailgate. And of course, baseball, softball right around the corner. Make sure you have Wickles Pickles and find more at Wickles PicklesPickles.com. Let's see what's coming up on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Well, later tonight, as we mentioned, women's basketball, Alabama against Ole Miss, coming up at 6 p.m. from Coleman Coliseum. Full radio coverage is available, plus we will have the courtside cam, sponsored by NASCAR. That'll be coming your way on all of these same social media platforms where you've been watching the show today, Facebook and YouTube. Coming up on Saturday, the men's team making the trip to Nashville to take on Vanderbilt. Hopefully another win in Memorial Gym coming up. Radio coverage will start at 1:30 for that game at 2:30 in the SEC men's opener. Sunday, the women's team back on the road. They'll be taking on Missouri at 5 p.m. And then on Monday night, it'll be Hey Coach with Chris Stewart and Nate Oates coming your way on Monday, 6 to 7. We'll have a video stream available right back here on the CTSN social media platforms, as well as our full radio network. Next week's going to be busy as well with basketball, so make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms for the very latest on the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's going to wrap up this first edition of the new year of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Special thank you to Richard Hendrix for joining us, plus comments from Coach Saban and Jalen Milroe, as well as all the booth cam highlights that we had throughout the football season. Just tremendous work by our video producer, Ethan Carabin, putting those together, streaming the booth cam live each and every game as well. For everybody with the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us here in this first edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll be back with this show on Thursdays, really until the end of June. The first of 6 months coming up for this show is coming your way each and every Thursday at 2 o'clock right here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Until next time, have a great weekend. Roll Tide.